Okay, now actually I will continue with where I left you before the Vesak. Before the Vesak on the 5th of May, yeah, I was saying that celebrating Vesak must carry meaning. That's what I say. I always stress on the point that we put meaning into all our festivals and whatever we do. We put meaning into it in our practices. So on the 5th of May, I say that yes, we are coming to celebrate Vesak, and we must not only celebrate birth, the enlightenment, and the passing away of the Buddha, but we must try to emulate some of his qualities and make it meaningful. To make it meaningful, we must assimilate some of his qualities. So that time, we are so also in my temple, Dhammacakka Buddha Vihara in Malacca, we had a Life of the Buddha exhibition, nice posters made by some students in Malacca. So very nice posters we have on the life of the Buddha. So what is the significance of the life of the Buddha? So for us adults, we must understand that the life of the Buddha reminds us that the Buddha is a human being like you and me. He is merely our teacher. He is our supreme teacher. So he is not a special God or things like that. He's just our supreme teacher who has gained enlightenment through his own effort. So what we are trying to do is when we put these things out there, how does it serve us? We must remind us that the Buddha is a human being who has got such a great achievement. A maximum a normal human being can achieve, he has achieved. So we will try to emulate some of his qualities. We don't try to say we'll emulate everything that he is. It's impossible. So we try to emulate a little bit of his qualities. And last time we spoke about generosity. The first time when I say we emulate his quality, we talk about generosity. Generosity, again, to understand generosity, we define generosity as charity of giving material things. Don't forget, generosity is about giving material things. Generosity is also about giving fearlessness to people, and also about giving the Dhamma. Charity, giving things, we all know. We all know very well. They're just giving things. But giving things does not mean we must eradicate all poverty in the world. It does not mean that. It is impossible for us to eradicate all the poverty in the world. But at least this perfection of charity does not mean that we can eradicate poverty in the world, no. But it depends on us destroying what we cling to the material things. We let go of the clinging. That is the purpose of this charity. When we give, we hope that it will destroy the clinging to what we each consider as ours. Correct? We always consider all these things mine, semua mine. So we must try to let go this part and make sure that, hold on, camera. So we want to make sure that we will, okay. We want to make sure that, it destroys the clinging to what we each consider as ours. Our body, our speech, our mind, our property, our family, our merits. This we must let go. No more our. Okay? So a step further, when we say no more attached to our merits, what do you mean? So we must define all this first to understand what is giving Dhamma. So it's not depending on being attached to temporal result of giving. We always think of giving, get merits, good, very good. That is our first practice. But eventually, what must we do? Eventually, we must also think of giving not because of the merits. Correct. These temporary result of merits, we also must detach ourselves. So we must learn to give with a sincere mind. We create infinite merits and we do unimaginable purification when we give. Why? Each time we do this, we come closer to enlightenment. Why? Again, you say, how come you give can become closer to enlightenment? Yes, people don't agree sometimes. But why? Because when we give, we get closer to realizing detachment. Agree? Every time we give, we get closer to realizing detachment. So also meaning understanding that our possession is not permanent. We know that these things that we have are not permanent. Again, that is very important to realize impermanence. So when we give, we must cultivate without thinking. Initially, of course, we give for marriage. Yes, we give for our next birth, so the future birth is comfortable for us, is guided, is well. Okay, agreed. But when we continue to give, we must cultivate ourselves. That's what the Buddha did. So we must emulate his quality, not only for that kind of marriage anymore. Not that kind of marriage. Because we must realize, when we give. Why? Because we are coming closer to enlightenment. Then you don't agree. Some people say, why? Because when you give, you realize detachment. Okay? And detachment is the cause of suffering. Don't forget, attachment is the cause of suffering. And attachment is what that leads us to continue in this samsaric journey. So that is why we say that we give and we continue to understand impermanence. That these things that ours are not permanent. Okay? We understand that this I and my does not exist. That is the level we cultivate ourselves. And that is what we're trying to emulate the Buddha, we say. So the other way is giving, or we say the charity of that is giving of materials. Now we say giving of fearlessness. That means we observe our precepts. We observe our precepts. Then society becomes very stable, very secure. People have no fear to live. So that's what we meant by giving fearlessness. Because we create an atmosphere where people are very safe and comfortable. So that is the charity of giving fearlessness. And then we say the charity of giving the Dhamma. So while giving things and giving fearlessness are important, that the most important charity we can give is the charity of giving the Dhamma. Don't forget, we all know the Dhamma. We must share with other beings, right? So when we give this called Dhamma, we hope that the other beings, seen or unseen, they become happy, right? They learn to become happy and they become happy, okay? And that is the greatest benefit we can give to people. We make them happy. Why happy? Because they know that there is a way to end this suffering. So giving of the Dhamma, say giving of fearlessness and giving of material, we have defined that as dana. Okay? And then we also touch on the moral values. We also touch on the moral values that we must emulate from the Buddha. We know that the moral values of the Buddha, and the Buddha has placed it for us very clearly in the 5 precepts. These are the moral values we must try to emulate from the Buddha. Okay, so now we will talk about the qualities of the Buddha again. We will revisit the qualities of the Buddha. The 5 precepts we will not go through again. We also have touched on altruism, the altruistic joy. Last week we say that every man has the potential of this indestructible potential goodness and enlightenment. If not, then it is individualism, appreciated as a strength and virtue or seen as a strength or narcissism. So we must cultivate this altruism, or it was because this altruism reflects our strength and our virtue. If not, it will just reflect the negative strength in you. That's narcissism, correct? So altruism, we say, do not require sacrifice. We say that in essence, altruism does not reside in the motivation that animates one's behavior. We will say that altruism, in short, altruism can be considered as authentic as long as the desire for other welfares is in our ultimate goal, even if our motivation has been not transformed into action. Sometimes we have a lot of dreams, a lot of things to do, but we are not able to do it on time. But still, that mind is important. The thinking mind is important. So altruism also, in short, my wife reminded me also that altruism is all about sharing joy, about people who are successful and they are above you. Sometimes we get joy from helping people who are poorer than us or below us. Correct? That is compassion lah. Correct. Altruism is when we see somebody above us, more successful. That is where we have to learn to be happy. That is quite difficult, isn't it? When you find somebody who's richer than you becomes richer or more successful, that is difficult, isn't it? Because if you are not careful, if you don't practice this kind of altruistic joy, what will happen? You become jealous. There are many times why always they benefit, I don't benefit. Why always they are richer, I'm not richer? Why always they get this, they get that, I don't get? So sometimes when people who are above us, when they get, we ask why? And that is no good. We must learn to be happy for them equally as we are happy for people below us whom we can help. That is altruism. We balance that, otherwise it becomes jealousy. And jealousy is a very dangerous ingredient, isn't it? Jealousy is a result of what? Greed. You don't get, you become jealous. Right? And when jealous, it's an ingredient to what? Ingredient to hatred. You're not careful, that jealousy will turn you into a hateful person. You cannot see people better than you. You cannot see people having things more than you. Must be jealous. That is not good. Okay? So we have to be very careful. So we must also practice altruism, practice joy, altruistic joy, whereby even the lower ones who benefit, we are happy. Even the ones above us who benefit, we must also learn to be. That is very important. So above that, now today we'll discuss about honesty, gratitude, and truthfulness of the Buddha. So this is what we also must try to assimilate. That's why I say, I will try to assimilate his qualities. So the Buddha has always been successful. The Buddha, he's very successful in all his preaching, in whatever he does, he's very successful. Why? If you refer to your Buddha Vandana, these things that we chant are not for ritualistic purposes only. Remember, when we chant the Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vidya Charana Sampanno Sugato Loka Vidu Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarati Satta Deva Manussanam Buddho Bhagavati. We are actually reciting the 9 virtues of the Buddha. And this is what we try to assimilate. Slowly, not all. Okay. Now, we say that why he is very successful because of his wisdom. He is a very, very wise person. He's fully enlightened. Okay, so that is called he's an arahant. When we recite that, remember his wisdom, he's an arahant. It means Samma Sambuddho. He's the Buddha, he's the Bhagava. We know wisdom. So this wisdom, we don't try to be like him now. We cannot match him, but we learn from him and we start to assimilate and follow his teachings closely. Okay? Then, of course, he is very truthful. His truthfulness, this is what we will discuss today. His truthfulness, his gratitude, his integrity, his upright moral living, and his knowledge. And this we can classify as when we chant Vidya Charana Sampanno. Vidya Charana Sampanno. We can say that he's very truthful, he's grateful, his integrity, his upright moral living, and his knowledge. He's got very good knowledge, okay? Then we also remember his teaching, this we'll cover later. Maybe his teachings are always practical. Why is he successful? Because his teachings, remember, his teachings are always practical and appropriate to the listeners. He knows his crowd, he knows whom he's talking to, and he will adjust his talk to suit those people. So his teachings are always practical, appropriate to the listeners, and it is timeless. Don't forget. It's akaliko, timeless. Okay? Then his teachings are always practical, appropriate for the listeners. He's the teachers of gods and men. Don't forget. His teachings are not only for us, mundane people, it's also for gods and men. It can be spiritual, it can be also for the mundane world. So it's called Satta Deva Manussana. Correct? So his teachings are spiritual, his teachings are also very, very suitable for the mundane living. Okay? And we lay people, we should focus on this mundane living. The mundane living, Don't worry too much. Like I've always said, don't worry too much about what happens after death. Worry too much about what happens while living here. Live a good life, you will get a good death. So it's always very patient. Don't forget, the Buddha is also very patient. He's known to be very eloquent. Okay, these are the qualities we'll discuss later. Why do you mean by this? And he's very eloquent and very determined. That's why they call him a Sugato. Sugato lo kavidu. Sugato lo kavidu. So he's a Sugato here. So of course, these are his qualities. So you cannot emulate his wisdom, of course. I prefer to talk about his truthfulness, gratitude, and his integrity. That's what we should emulate. Right? Now, what is the first lesson you learn from the Buddha? When he was enlightened, the first week, what did he do? He sat under the Bodhi tree. He experienced the bliss of Nibbana. The second week, what did he do? You see, the Buddha is a very grateful person, remember. The second week, he took a few steps away from the tree, from the Bodhi tree, and he gazed at the Bodhi tree. This is a great moral lesson to us, right? Remember, as a mark of gratitude to the Bodhi tree that sheltered him during his struggle for enlightenment, he took a few steps back, then he gazed at the Bodhi tree with motionless eyes. He just gazed at it. Because the reason was because he felt that this tree has protected him during his struggle for enlightenment, protected him against all the weather conditions. It is very good. First thing he did was he was very grateful to the Bodhi. Okay, this is just off the record. So for that purpose, you see that many of us, many temples, we have got a Bodhi tree and we do chanting under the Bodhi tree. We revere the Bodhi tree because we are grateful to the Bodhi tree that has given protection to our great master. So that's why we also chant at the Bodhi tree. Our Bodhi Pūjā is also byproduct of this. So secondly, you don't forget, when he attained enlightenment, when he decided to preach the truth that he founded the people with little eyes in his little dust in his eyes, he thought first of whom? You see, the grateful person, his first two teachers, He's a very grateful person. He said, I must now that I have found the truth, I am enlightened, I must seek my first two teachers and help them. Let them also be enlightened. He's very grateful. So his first two teachers, Alara Kalama and Udakka Ramaputta. Okay? So having learned that they were dead, he found out that they were no more alive and they were reborn in the Arupa realm where they have no faculties to listen to the Dhamma. So then he was thinking of the next choice of people that he has. Of course, he reflected that his 5 friends. His first 5 friends that he practiced with him for many years, until they decided to desert him. These 5 friends deserted him, but he's still grateful to them for the early days that he spent with them. He was still very grateful to them. So this is gratefulness that we have to learn. We have to learn to be grateful. So the Buddha says, yes, these 5 friends, although they have deserted me, but during the good time, they supported me. So the Buddha says, I must also share this truth with them. So you know the distance between, they were all in Varanasi. Istipatana near Varanasi. He knew that they were practicing there, and the Buddha was enlightened in Bodh Gaya. Don't forget, the distance between Bodh Gaya and Varanasi is by road is almost 250 kilometers. And the Buddha didn't have the luxury of a car, a chariot, or an aeroplane to take him there. He walked for 7 days. If you estimate this at the speed, I know, a normal person, our speed of a normal healthy man like me, I can only walk about 3 kilometers an hour, In other words, for the Buddha to reach them in 7 days, he has to walk for 12 hours a day. Right? And that's what he did. So he was grateful to these people, and he walked 250 kilometers in 7 days, and he arrived at Isipatana at Varanasi. See his 5 friends. Then he shared the truth with them, and they too became enlightened. He was very grateful. So these are lessons we learn from him. So now we also must learn to be grateful people. We must not be aware to our gratefulness. We'll talk about gratefulness now. How do we become grateful? We must have that quality. If you're not grateful, you cannot be a good Buddhist. Okay? Okay, honesty, integrity, and gratefulness. We hope that we can talk a little bit on that today. I mean, I share what level that I can understand. A life of deepening gratitude requires that we commit ourselves to goodness. Right? Only people with integrity live truly good, happy lives. Right? You will agree with this, right? Only your conscience can ensure that we are people of integrity. Conscience is the unique human quality that requires us to make choices that reflect goodness, to follow the thoughts of our choices, and to commit ourselves to the choices we make. Correct? It's all about consciousness. Gratitude is linked to consciousness just by the fact that we could never acknowledge, live out, or give back our giftedness unless we had within us some prior moral sense that recognizes the gracious generosity of giving and motivates us to give back in turn for what we have received. And that is gratefulness. Okay? So I always call this part of my life. At the final phase of my life, I always say that it's my time to give back. I always call this part of my life. When my career days are over, I call it as giving back time. So I dedicate a lot of my time to sharing and giving the Dhamma. The Dhamma that what we say just now. You share the Dhamma as one of the Dhamma. Because the Dhamma makes a lot of people happy because they get out of samsara if they practice well. Right? So that's what we do. And also we give fearlessness to people. At least if you have it, you have me as your neighbor, you'll be very safe that you know that I won't be scolding you, quarreling with you all the time, so that is the sense of okay. Okay, so we try to be good people. After we have benefited, we give back to society. And what little we can give, we always give. And like I said earlier, okay, so give. So now, of course, in Buddhism, the Buddha, for us, the truthfulness part, a lot comes from our speech, isn't it? We talk about lying, but never mind first. We talk about our Katamyu Sutta. So the Buddha says in the Katamyu Sutta, remember we said earlier, the person with integrity is grateful and thankful. So if a person is grateful and thankful, he has integrity. So we must learn to be grateful and thankful. A person without integrity is ungrateful and thankless. So that is the roundup of gratitude. And now we talk about the truth. The truth, the Buddha took a very hard line on it. We find it a hard line, but actually it's not so difficult as what we thought. Sometimes we say, yes, many a time we all talk, and we say that the most difficult part of the 5 precepts is the 4th precept. Musavada Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami. We say that's the most difficult because we always tell lies, So we find that, this is very difficult. But now let us try to understand. The Buddha is a great teacher. I've been reflecting on this, that's why I came to this conclusion, and today I share with you. You see, the Buddha is a great teacher, we say. Very compassionate. And he knows the crowd. He's a good speaker, he's a Sugato, okay? He knows the crowd. Do you think he will make the 5 precepts so difficult for us? Correct or not? So I think sometimes there's a misconception on the Four Noble Truths. On the 4th precept. On the 4th precept, I think many of us say that it's very difficult to maintain. We must tell lies sometimes, Yeah, agree. But do you think the Buddha made life so difficult for us? So now let us refer slowly. We will see that what is the how to understand the fourth precept correctly. So that we know that the Buddha is a very kind person. Life is not, he did not make it so difficult for us. We have made it difficult for ourselves. The Buddha's teachings is never complicated. We have complicated it ourselves. That's what I always feel. Because the Buddha is a very kind person, he's a enlightened person, he's a Samma Sambuddha, and I'm sure he knows how to handle people like us. Okay. Okay. Now, the Buddha has made life very easy for us. Remember, when the Buddha spoke to Rahula, his son, okay, of course, he was, like I said, sometimes you feel that the stand he took was very firm. In the same way, Rahula, the Buddha continued, when anyone feels no shame in telling a deliberate lie, remember, deliberate lie, there is no evil, I tell you, they will not do. Correct? If you can tell a deliberate lie, the Buddha says there is no evil that you cannot do. So then it says, thus, Rahula, you should train yourself. And train yourself to say that I will not tell a deliberate lie, even as a joke, the Buddha says. So that is stand on truthfulness. So wait. So the Buddha has made it very, very strong statement that is truthfulness. So what now? The Buddha's made it very clear, like we say that, we are talking about truthfulness related to the five precepts. So we see the Buddha told that if a person can tell a deliberate lie, there's no evil that he cannot do. Okay, so now the Buddha made it clear that what constitutes a lie? Sometimes we all very concerned, brother, how brother, this one, right? Yes, we all live in this mundane world, in this closet, that we have to sometimes tell lies, no choice. Why? If that lie is to save a life, what would you do? Correct. Okay. A story is a very popular story. When the Buddha was practicing walking meditation in the forest, remember? Walking meditation, and suddenly he saw a young lady running past him, screaming, running, and she was in distress. And the Buddha knew that probably the robbers are chasing her. Correct? If the robbers get her, means she can be raped and robbed, and everything can happen to her. She can even be killed after that. So where the Buddha stood, the Buddha shifted to another place. The Buddha knew that the robbers were asking this question: did you see that girl running? Which direction did she go? So the Buddha went to take another location, whereby that location he could not see that lady running past. So when the robbers came to ask him, from where you stand, Bante, did you see the girl running, and which direction did she go? So the Buddha said, from where I stand, he took a position where he could not see the junction, So the Buddha says, from where I stand, I cannot see where she went. Okay? Right? And you see, Buddha cannot tell lies. Is the Buddha telling a lie? That is the truth, from where he stood there. He could not see, He shifted his position, kneeling down to ask him. If he stood at the junction there, he cannot say, I cannot see. But he shifted himself to a place where he could not see, and he knew the robbers would come to ask him. And he says, Bante, from where you stand, can you see where the lady ran? Bante says, from where I stand, I cannot see. Okay? And that saved the girl. Correct. So that's a lie, so things like that. So now we must remember that the Buddha, that to breach the fourth precept of this Musavada Veramani Sikhapadang Samadhyami. Not easy to breach this four precepts also. Don't worry about, sometimes we have got to tell a little bit of small lies, You see, sometimes a non-believer asks you, okay, let's say you are the eighth preceptor today, example. The story is always a preceptor, is it? Okay. So you're a preceptor, a non-believer come to ask you, hey, come have dinner. What you want to say? No, I've just taken my dinner. There's a better lie than saying, oh, I'm a Buddhist, my precept cannot eat after 8. They laugh at you, isn't it? They laugh at your training, they laugh at your way you are practicing. No point, what? Correct not? So you put yourself in a very difficult situation and you allow people to criticize your practice. So better to make it simple. I have just taken my thank you very much. Correct? So that's what we do. Correct? So these kind of lies, do you think they are lies? Correct. Now we don't want to offend people Yeah, tell you that I'm a preceptor I cannot eat No, I cannot eat afternoon. The people they're non-believers, they laugh at you. They say this lady has gone bonkers. What is this practice all about? So we don't want this thing to happen to us. We say that no, I have taken mine. Easy, right? Case closed. So this kind of small little things happen in us. No choice. Because we live in this kind of society where this kind of things happen. Sometimes you have no choice. Correct. So there are many a times we don't tell the parents the truth on certain things. My children are guilty of this. Every time I ask them how much it costs, they'll tell you, oh, special discount. They don't tell me the price. Because if I know expensive, I say don't buy. Correct. So they say no, special discount. How? Correct not? So it is good so that I can wear it comfortably, whatever clothes they give me when I ask how much, they say this special discount. Oh, offer day. Okay. And we are happy now, we bought something cheap and we all correct. If you know that, oh my God, this shirt going to cost me $300. Oh, we say, why waste? So, okay, for this reason, sometimes this kind of things we do for the comfort of the parents, for the comfort of our teachers, for a lot of reasons we do. But it's not a deliberate lie and it's not a habitual lie. Okay? Now, coming back to the point, it's not easy to breach that fourth precept. Like I've said, the Buddha is a kind person. Don't mean that, when we say Musawada Veramani Sikapadam Samadhyami, cannot even tell a small lie, white lie, black lie, purple lie, macam-macam lie. Don't worry so much. The Buddha says, to breach that fourth precept, number one, you need to atatang watu. This criteria must be there. Correct? Atatang watu means a falsehood. You must know that this is not true. Correct? Okay? And then the second criteria that you want to breach that fourth precept is visang vadana chittang. That means you have the intention for that lie. Right? You have deliberate intention to tell a lie. Chittang means intention. The mind. Correct? Now your mind is coming in to say you better tell a lie. You will benefit from this lie. So that's no good. When you benefit from this lie. Correct? And then the third criteria, the Buddha said, Tajjo Vayamo. That means the effort is made to tell that lie. Correct? You plan to tell a lie, how to tell my mother a lie, how to tell a lie to benefit from this, how to tell a lie to benefit this, how to con people, then all these criteria come in now because you have made an effort, you have the intention, and you know it is a lie. The three criteria have been fulfilled. Okay? The fourth criteria is that you must also, here it says, Parasata datta vijananam. Okay? That means others understand what has been said. What you have been said, and they have been caught, they have been cheated. That constitutes lie. So these four conditions must be there. That you must know it is a lie. You must make an effort to tell the lie. You must benefit from that lie, in short, and that person has been caught. That constitutes. So these kind of small things that we do, sometimes I just gave you some examples, whereby if somebody asks Sister Doris, she is a great practitioner of the eight precepts. To go for dinner, she says, I've just taken my dinner. Senang lah. Otherwise, you create a lot of macam-macam people will say about your religion. It has happened many times. Then people say, what practice is this? Why cannot eat? So this is better to say that we have taken our dinner. Sometimes we do that. Okay. Then the same way, like I've said, the Buddha gave the advice to Rahula also, exactly, you know. So don't worry, not everything is a lie. Don't worry, don't worry, not everything. As long as you don't become a habitual liar, you don't benefit from that lie. That is what I'm trying to, I'm trying to assimilate. So I cultivate the way. So you remember the Buddha advised to Rahula. In the same way, Prince says, in the case of words that the Tathagata knows to be unfactual, remember, that must be unfactual, untrue, unbeneficial, not connected with the goal, unendearing and disagreeable to others. Okay? The Buddha says that, okay, in the case of words, remember, in the case of words that the Tathagata knows to be unfactual, untrue, unbeneficial, or not connected with the goal, unendearing and disagreeable to others. Don't say it, it says no. Correct? So you avoid this. If it's going to say something that's disagreeable to everybody there, okay? Second case, the Buddha says, in the case of words that the Tathagata knows to be factual, this is factual and true. The Buddha knows this factual is true, but unbeneficial, unenduring, disagreeable to others. He does not say them also. Correct? Even if it's true, but it causes problem, don't say no. Avoid don't say avoid. Okay, the second condition the Buddha says. And the third, in the case of words that the Tathagata knows to be factual, to be true, to be beneficial, but unenduring and disagreeable to others. He has a sense of proper time for saying that. Remember, the timing of saying things that are disagreeable to people. Look for the proper timing. Correct? Okay, I give a simple example. When somebody is grieving, don't go and tell them, life is like that, everybody must die. The timing is not right. People are grieving, you say, sorry for you. Cool down, relax, things like that. Don't go and say, this is life. Everybody must die. Jati piduka, jarapi duka, vyadi piduko, maranang piduka. Don't. So sometimes this is true, right? But the timing is not right. Right? When the timing is not right, don't simply say I notice sometimes people say when somebody is sick, somebody is diagnosed with cancer. Life is that one. The Buddha says sickness is part of life. Don't say that, you must first specify him. That is our problem sometimes. Okay, so this is the case that the Buddha says, you wait for the timing. Okay? When the person is more composed, more ready to accept what is true, then you tell him. Okay, so that's what the Buddha says, you see? When it is unenduring and disagreeable, even if it's true, it's beneficial, yes, but wait for the proper timing. Have patience. Wait for the timing to be right to tell him. Okay? Then number 4, the Buddha says the case of words that the Tathagata knows to be unfactual, untrue, unbeneficial, but enduring and agreeable to others. Correct. Also don't say the Buddha says. Correct. Sometimes we we go to the coffee shop, we all talk about things that we think are factual and true correct. But cakap sedap, everybody agrees to hear something bad, Politics, you say something bad about certain people, they all like to hear one, But the Buddha says, don't say such things. Even people like to hear also, don't say because they are not true. Correct? We do not know whether it's true or not. Don't say. Although people love to hear that, don't say. Even true or untrue, don't say. Just because people like to hear. No. Okay? So in the case, okay, now the 5th condition, the Buddha says, in the case of the words that the Tathagata knows to be factual, true, unbeneficial, but enduring and agreeable to others, also don't say because it's still not beneficial. The quality of that is not beneficial. See, what's the point of telling something that doesn't benefit? So if that's the case, the Buddha says, you don't also say lah. Huh? So last, the Buddha says that what you can say is, in the case of the words that the Tathagata knows to be factual, to be true, to be beneficial and enduring and agreeable to others, and has a sense of proper time for saying them, then you say lah. Correct. Correct. When it is proper time to say. Why? Like I've said in my beginning, the Buddha is a very sympathetic person. Correct? He doesn't want to make things unpleasant for people. Okay? So that is the thing that we talk about. Okay? And then we can also talk about this, we have talked about our katanyu. Katanyu also, don't forget that we must practice. You see, now that is about the truth. Now we talk about generosity. Remember we say, we must refer to, you see, the Buddha has also taught us, you see, we're talking about good manners in lessons, and how to treat our parents well. That is katanyu. Correct? So the Buddha says very clearly in the Mangala Sutta. Remember, to support mother and father, to cherish wife and children, and to be engaged in peaceful occupation. This is the greatest blessing. Okay? The Buddha says, Mata pitu upattanang uttadara sasanggaho anakula cetam manta etang buddhana sa. Sorry. Etang mangala muttamang. Sometimes I chant, sometimes I have to go to more. Okay? So, Mata pitu upattanang uttadara sasanggaho anakula cekam manta etang mangala muttamang. Okay? So the Buddha says you must support your mother and father, and must respect your spouse and look after your children. Correct? This is the part of your integrity. This is what we have to do. You must learn to be generous, also generous to your relatives and friends. Okay? The Buddha says you must learn to be humble, respectful, contented, and grateful, and listen to the Dhamma in due occasion. Okay, this is the greatest blessing. Okay, so these are the qualities that the Buddha has stipulated in the Mangala Sutta. The Buddha also said to be patient and obedient, to associate with monks, and to have religious discussion on due occasion. This is the highest blessing. Okay, so that's what the Buddha says. And those who abide by this ever remain invincible in happiness established. Okay, you abide by all this advice given by the Buddha. Very happy in life. Okay, and also now we talk about Katanyu Sutta. Of course, Katanyu Sutta is repeated many times. Even if you carry your mother and your father on the right and left shoulders for 100 years, look after them, bathe them, wash them, let them do the business here, you still cannot repay that kindness. The only way to repay the kindness is to introduce them to the good practices of the Dhamma. Introduce them to good practices like the Buddha has introduced to us. That is one way that we can repay them. Okay? So that is what we want to talk about today. I don't know how much time I have more, but I think about... so we have covered the Rahula, so we know that now you know that now it's not lying, it's not so simple. So don't say that 4% is so difficult. Correct? It's not so difficult actually. So this kind of, we live in this society really complicates our experience of truth and falsity, sincerity in speech. We understand. In this society, it's quite difficult. The things to remember in this kind of society isn't something you simply choose to be. You are in the social context, you have no choice. You did not choose, and you're trying to figure out how to organize your life in a way that minimizes your suffering and the suffering of others. That is what we must emulate that. We must emulate that. We must minimize our suffering and the suffering of others, and the people you love. And also, fear may not accept it. If people you love and people you fear, you must share equally. You aren't telling cynical lies for self-gain in any calculating, obvious manner. So remember, if that is not present, this calculating life, then you're okay. I don't mean this to suggest that you need to remain in and out of this closet or this society. Merely that there are other ways available to review your intentions. Okay? You must view your intention in Buddhism. We'll conclude that later. Let me just cover this part now. But you realize that when you practice these 5 precepts, you practice this kind of precepts, you practice metta, you practice bhavana. People like us, you notice that even if you see a poisonous animal, let's say a poisonous snake, be run over by a car, you also Christian also, isn't it? You still feel sorry now, even you know that that animal is very poisonous, the animal, but we still see when the animal is dead, we still feel sorry for that animal. We see a drowning, let's say a drowning mouse. You don't like the mouse, they carry plague sometimes. So, but you see a drowning mouse, you also feel sorry, but it's our cultivation. We still try to rescue whether we like it or not. Not that we love mice, but we still rescue it. You see a drowning, if you see a drowning snake, also you are rescued also. No choice, correct? Not? That is the cultivation that actually assimilate. We have learned to be very kind, correct? We have learned to have lots of compassion in us. We have learned to have lots of metta, loving kindness in us. So even you see the ants, sometimes mosquitoes, sometimes you want to hammer also, not because it is wrong or right, but because we have actually cultivated ourselves in such a way that we feel that it is wrong to take a life. So that is the cultivation that we talk about. Not because you are forced to do, You are not forced to do by your precepts. Don't worry, You don't say, oh, because I'm a Buddhist, I think my 5 precepts, I cannot do this. Well, no, not true at all. But because we have cultivated ourselves in such a way that we don't want it to mosquito, Right. You want to kill a kachwa at home also, not a cockroach at home. But because of our cultivation, not because it's wrong or right. Don't worry. You continue to practice, you will eventually come to that position. Don't force ourselves to don't do, and then get frustrated about seeing a lot of kachwa in the house. Correct? So that is what so our precepts are actually a guide to us, like it's a training program for us. Our precepts are our training program. It is our training programs. Because remember, our precepts are just a training program to cultivate our self-restraint. That's all. Correct? It doesn't compel you not to do what, but you are training yourself to avoid this kind of thing. Because why? Because in Buddhism, we say mind is the forerunner. Why we need to cultivate? Because in Buddhism, mind is the forerunner. Whatever you do, this is the one that tell you to do. Okay? So for Buddhists, there is no one to be blamed. No one can save us either. Ultimately, we are our own worst enemy and our only salvation. Correct? So we have to cultivate ourselves. That's all. So delusion is our enemy and wisdom is our salvation. The mind is the forerunner. Right? All our experiences in this world comes from the mind. Happiness is from within. Happiness is not from without. So we see that is Buddhism. Okay? That no one can blame, no one can save you, no one can take your blame. You yourself can be your worst enemies or can be your own salvation. And the mind is your primary cause for everything. Okay? And we always remember happiness is from within. Therefore, our experience in the world is all coming from the mind. With that, I say thank you very much. for listening. Thank you, and I hope it is beneficial to you all. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So now to end this morning's special puja, we wish to thank again our two ladies, our Sister Cheng and Sister Doris, Sister Cheng and Sister Doris, for coming forward to chant this morning puja for us. And let us do some dedication to the gods and devas, and also to transfer somebody to our loved ones who are no more with us. So, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, again, I say that we have spent about 1 hour, you have spent about 1 hour, 1 hour, 10 minutes with us, following the puja and also following the short Dhamma sharing. And I'm sure during such time, your mind stayed very focused. And when it's focused, there's no unwholesome activities. No unwholesome activities means there's no greed element in you, there's no hatred element in you, there's no delusion element in you. And during such time when your mind remains focused and pure, you accrue abundance of merits. And these merits we dedicate to all of respective devas, and we hope that they will continue, they will rejoice in these merits and eventually attain the peace of Nirvana, and they will continue to bless us accordingly. We must also dedicate these merits to our loved ones who are no more with us. We hope that they too will rejoice in these merits, and they too will shower unto us their choicest blessings and protection. And our aspiration, as always, may we be blessed with company of the good and the wise always. May we not follow the ways of the foolish. May we be blessed with good friends and good teachers can guide us along the path of the Dhamma until we reach our final liberation, Nibbana. Akasatta ca bhummatta devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva cirang rakhantu loka sasanang ettavata ca amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe deva sabbe bhuta sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana patiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So thank you, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. So please, you can continue to watch us, our program via this MSBS Facebook or the Theravada Council Facebook or the Dhammachakra Buddha Vihara Facebook. Thank you, and I say goodbye. See you again.